Welcome back to another Mixed Media Tuesday, and today I'm going for a new art journal page following the exact same steps like I did last week, and I will use products from the latest Stamperia collection, a fall collection which is called Golden Harmony. So the idea today is to show you that by following the exact same steps that you saw in my last week's 101 art journal video, can end up with beautiful pages. Same techniques, in the same order, just switching the products. If you haven't seen last week's video, make sure to do so because it is a free class showing you all the basic steps that you need to follow without focusing on the products that I'm using. You will find the link to that class down below in the description. So just like I did last week, I'm going to start with rice paper, and I have here the pack from this collection. I'm going to choose some of those rice papers, and I'm just going to cut them out with my scissors in little squares and rectangles. Now last week I did the same technique for my background with rice paper, but instead of using scissors, I just teared the little pieces with my fingers. So I'm just showing you a different way, same thing, different way to do it. Now, if you notice, I'm making sure that I use the parts of the rice papers that doesn't have any designs. I'm mainly going with the background ones. I will keep the beautiful designs for other projects in the future. So I'm going to stick down all those little pieces that I have. Just like always, I'm going with my rice paper glue. I'm applying some on top of my page, and then I stick the rice paper and cover it with that glue as well on top. This is going to seal it down, it's going to make it non-porous so that I can use other techniques on top of it. The paper that I'm working on is not prepped with gesso or anything. I'm just going to work directly on top of my page, and this is watercolor page, by the way. Just because today I'm trying to show you that with the same techniques and same concept like I did last time in the class, you can come up with different pages again and again. I'm going to follow the same design. So here you will see that I'm mainly focusing on sticking those pieces of rice paper at the center of the page, leaving enough white space on the edges. This is going to instantly create kind of a border, a white border, which is going to frame my art for today. But again, you go all the way to the edges if that makes you happy. Notice that my little rice papers are darker or lighter, so as I stick one on top of the other, I get different shades. I try to balance these so I have some darker areas and some lighter areas all over the place. And then once I'm happy, I can go ahead and make sure that this is completely dry before I move on to the next step. So once this is dry, it's time for stamping. For doing my stamping, I'm going to use permanent ink, really important, so that it's not going to smudge or smear, no matter which technique I try to use later on. I'm going to stamp with my fingers, and I'm using one of my background stamps. I made sure that in this stamp set you end up with lots of designs that are very generic and can be used to stamp on your backgrounds. I'm not trying to get the perfect impression, as you can see, and I'm trying to get different parts of the stamp, like the grid or the circles here and there, just to make it look more interesting. Again, keep in mind that at this part I don't know where I'm going to stick my focal points, so some parts of this stamping may end up covered up, but it's just fun playing layer after layer, so I don't care what will happen next. The permanent ink dries instantly, so there is no need for you to use the heat gun for that step. I'm going to move on and add some splatters. You can do the splatters with diluting acrylic paint in any color that you like. I just used some spray bottle here, which dries permanent, by the way, the aqua color. And then I'm going to do the white. Just like I showed you in the last video, I'm going to use some white acrylic paint, and in this page I did use my spatula to apply some white at the background. For this page I'm going to use a brush just to show you different ways to apply it. So I'm just using a brush which is completely dry, no water, since I want to see the brush strokes. I'm going to add some white here and there. This is going to make the background look more faded, more background. It's not that vibrant anymore. And you can use that white to cover up areas that you don't like, just like an eraser. So I'm going to make sure that this is completely dry, and then I will move on to the next step, which is playing with stencils. So I'm going to bring this lovely stencil. I absolutely love the pattern. It is again from the Golden Harmony collection, and I'm debating on whether I want to use white paste or golden paste, and you will see that I end up using a completely different color. So last week, when I followed the same steps, I did use black for that step. So for this one, let's do something different, and I decided to use this copper one. So this is Glamour paste again, and I call it copper. The product name is Ancient Pink, as you can see on your screen, and this dries quite shiny at the end. It does have some mica inside, I believe, and I absolutely love the effect that it gives. Now I'm going with more warm colors for this page. That's why I decided to go with this color of a paste. Again, some of it is going to be covered up. I'm going to leave that page to dry, and I will do the cleanup of the stencil and the spatula in the meantime. And I'm back for the next step. So here I'm going to try and find my focal points. I do have the 8x8 paper pad from this collection, and again, keep in mind that I'm following the same steps again and again, the same techniques, but I end up with different designs just because I switch up products and focal points. So don't focus so much on what I'm using. I like to play with new collections, obviously, but you can definitely recreate what I'm doing by using what you have. So normally for my focal points, I either cut out images from a paper pad. I might use the ephemera packs that are available per collection, and now Stamperia came up with this new product that matches their collections. So all you do is just pop out the images. They are pre-cut for you, and you will find lovely images that they have the thickness of the pattern paper, the normal paper of a scrapbooking pad. I am going to pick up some of them, decide what my composition is going to be. This is where you get to play with all the images and create a lovely focal point. You see here I just pop out lots and lots of images because I don't know what I want to do. But I can see many pages done by just using those 4 pages of pop-out images. I like the fact that they are thin, like scrapbooking paper, and I also like the fact that you get big images as well, which make great focal points, and they are going to take enough space in your pages. So anyway, I am going to decide what I want to do, and I will finally go only with the pumpkins and some of the leaves. I'm going to leave those gorgeous jars for another journal that I want to create, and I don't want to waste them on this page. So it's time to create my composition of my focal points on top of the page. To stick everything down, I like to use my rice paper glue. I apply rice paper glue at the bottom to stick the image, and then I use the same glue to cover it up completely. Again, I do this step because I want to make sure that they are covered up and they are non-porous once they dry. This is going to allow me to do the lovely technique that I like to do with my markers for shading and highlighting later on. So I'm going to create what looks pleasing to the eye. So you see I'm just auditioning, I'm just changing things up. You will see that I am going to end up using only the 2 pumpkins. I'm going to keep the other one for another project. And once I'm happy, I'm going to stick everything down. Remember, this looks quite milky once I cover it up, but it's going to dry completely clear and matte. Now for my quote, I am going to use some stickers from this Tim Holtz sticker pad, which I have forever. I think this is the occasions one, and it keeps on giving. I mean, I have it for years and years and I'm not able to finish it off. Absolutely love this product. And again, you can stamp, you can write your quote, you can print it out, or you can use alphabet cutouts, whatever works for you. Also, the adhesive here is quite forgiving, so you can easily reposition it until you are happy with the placement, and then I am going to use some glue underneath to make sure that they are going to stay put. So as I stick down my phrases, it is time to make sure that everything is dry and move on to the next step, which is the highlighting and the shading. But really important, make sure that this glue is completely dry. You don't want to touch the markers on that glue, and because of course it is going to ruin the tips. So now let's move on. For this step I'm going to use my Pitt brush markers by Faber-Castell. These are by far my favorites for this technique. And many people ask me how I pick the colors. Well, fake it till you make it, they say. So I usually just pick a color that looks okay to me, and then I just work directly on top of the project and try to find out if I like it or not. Don't worry too much if you make a mistake. Again, this is just an art journal. You say I didn't like it, it's too bright. And even if I didn't like it, I'm going to keep on using it. So I'm going to make it work since I already touched a part of the leaf already. Now the beauty of these markers is that they are going to dry permanent, and they are semi-transparent, so they don't cover up the design of the paper, but rather it adds extra color on top of it that you can build it up. It makes the colors way brighter depending on the color that you choose to work with. For example, here it is super bright, but don't worry, at the end it's going to look just beautiful. Everything somehow magically comes together with these markers. So what I'm doing is touching the tip of the marker in different parts of the page, and then really quickly I blend it out with my fingers, just because I don't want to have any harsh lines. This works just because the type of the ink that this marker has is Indian ink, which is easy to smudge before it completely turns into permanent. You cannot do that with your alcohol markers because they dry instantly on top of the image. And of course you can do something similar with your watercolors, although they are not going to show as vibrant. This technique also works just because I used my matte glue to cover up the images, so this is not working directly on top of the paper, rather on that coating, which allows for those few seconds to blend the color. Now I switch to a darker color, a darker green, so that I deepen up the shadows where that leaf touches the pumpkins. And I already love how it came to life, really vibrant. So now let's do something with the pumpkins. Always make sure that you clean up your finger. Look here, my finger wasn't clean, so you learn from my mistakes. But again, I don't worry too much about mistakes on art journaling. I'm just having fun here. It's not something to get a mark or to show to others and tell me that they like it or they don't like it. I really don't care. As long as I have fun while creating, that's the goal of art journaling. Plus you end up learning lots of techniques that you can work with them on other bigger projects for decoration, for example. So here I'm using oranges and yellows to brighten up the pumpkin and bring it more to life. Again, following the same idea, touching a little bit of color, smudging it with my finger to have a blended outcome. And always deepen up the shadows with a really darker marker. Don't worry to go really bright and dark. You see, it really works. It actually works, bringing all those images into life. Now I'm adding a touch of, let's say, dirty yellow on my white pumpkin just to bring it to life as well. And it's time to do the doodling now. Let's bring in a thin black marker and I'm going to draw some sketchy lines. My marker is super thin, but it still adds that shadow on the edges that I need. I'm not trying to outline the whole image, the whole cutout image that I have there. Just some sketchy lines here and there. I really don't know how to explain how I choose where to add those lines. just go randomly and add here and there. It is making a big difference, helping some parts of the image to pop against each other. So here, for example, it works like a shadow or like an outline to help it pop from the background. And then I'm going to use my white gel pen, and again just randomly touching the tip in different parts of my images, which is going to give them a whimsical look. Oh, and here is a tip: if you find that your gel pen doesn't work so well, it is maybe because those markers aren't completely dry yet, so just use your heat gun to make sure that it is nice and dry, and your gel pen will glide easily over them again, just like mine did. I did use my white gel pen to outline my phrases as well, if you notice, and now I'm adding some white splatters just because I absolutely love that look. You can omit this step if you don't like splatters. I find that they add that extra whimsical look into the project and it makes it look more artsy. Now here is a step that you may want to do depending on the project and how it looks. What I'm doing is using one of the stamps that I used for the background over the pumpkins and the cutout pieces over my focal point. This is going to kind of bring everything together. It's a completely optional step that I didn't show you on the previous introductory class, but it gives that extra something if you want to do it. And because splatters are never enough and I don't know when to stop, I'm using again that brown ink to add some splatters on top of the pumpkins as well. Here are some close-up photos on the project that I made for today. I hope that you had fun, that you got inspired. You will find a full list of supplies down below in the description. Don't forget to like the video, to leave me a comment. Thank you all so much for joining me, and I'll see you all next time.